Welcome to Daily Review, your daily dose of literary exploration. We dive into books that spark curiosity and ignite growth. While our passion often leads us to nonfiction reads that empower and improve your life, no book is off limits. From gripping thrillers to insightful memoirs and compelling fiction to historical accounts, we're here to share and discuss all the interesting reads we discover. Tune in for your next great book idea. And today, we're jumping into a deep dive, looking at some really fascinating source material. We're exploring the world of running.
Yeah, specifically looking at excerpts from Christopher McDougall's, incredible book, Born to Run.
Right, and contrasting, modern running experiences with practices that go way, way back.
Our mission here is pretty straightforward. We want to sift through this stuff, get to the core of it, and really pull out the most important knowledge.
The surprising insights, right?
Yeah.
And those just unforgettable facts about running, injuries.
Human evolution and the, frankly, just astonishing abilities of the Tarahumara people in Mexico.
And this dive, it takes us to some wild places. I mean, from the remote canyons of Mexico.
All the way to the cutting edge of evolutionary biology, yeah.
It reveals some connections between how we run and, maybe surprisingly, who we are fundamentally.
So the story really kicks off with this idea of the Tarahumara. They're described in our source material as these almost mythical runners.
Living in Mexico's Copper Canyons.
Exactly. Think Stone Age super athletes. The book paints them as possibly the healthiest, most serene people on Earth and, arguably the greatest runners ever.
Near mythical feels spot on because the feats described are just hard to believe sometimes.
Like what?
Well, how about catching a deer by hand? Not, with a spear or anything, but just by chasing it.
Chasing it until it literally collapses from exhaustion.
Yeah. Or covering a distance that takes a mule 10 hours. They do it in 90 minutes.
It's mind-boggling. And their home turf, the Barrancas del Cobre, the Copper Canyons, it's as wild as the stories make it sound.
Impenetrable landscape. Cliffs higher than hawks' nests. The source calls it a lost world.
Known for swallowing up people trying to disappear, right? Misfits, desperados.
Totally. And it sounds terrifying. You got jaguars, venomous snakes, intense heat.
And that creepy mention of canyon fever that supposedly drives people mad or to suicide.
It's so remote, so dangerous, it's kept outsiders and its inhabitants pretty separate for centuries.
Which adds to that whole elusive vibe. Even now, with all our tech, the traditional Tarahumara are described as, ghostly.
You don't just find them. They let themselves be seen.
Okay, so let's dig into this core contrast because it's key.
Yeah.
You've got this picture, this image of effortless, injury-free running from the Tarahumara.
Right.
But then you look at modern running, and the source highlights a completely different reality.
A pretty bleak reality for many, it sounds like.
Yeah, the sources mention this astonishingly high injury rate. We're talking up to 8 out of 10 runners getting hurt every year.
8 out of 10. It's most runners.
Exactly. It's framed so that being injured makes you normal. If you don't get injured, you're the weird one, the mutant.
And it's not just newbies. The author talks about his own really frustrating cycle of injuries.
Despite going to top specialists, right? Getting all the expensive gear.
Custom orthotics, motion control shoes, the works, trying to fix the problem.
And the diagnosis he keeps getting feels like a total dead end. Basically, running is bad for you because it makes your foot hurt.
Which makes no sense when you think about it. The source asks, why is our running different?
Yeah, why don't antelope get shin splints? Where are the wolves icing their knees after a chase? It's a great point.
That comparison really lands. And the description of the author's running form after they analyze his gait. Wow.
What was it?
Frankenstein's monster trying to tango, head bobbing all over, arms slashing, feet just clomping down loud.
Doesn't sound very efficient. Or graceful.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It really forces you to ask if our modern way of doing things, maybe the shoes, maybe the pavement, if it's actually making things worse.
Mm-hmm. And even elite athletes struggle. The source mentions Lance Armstrong, incredibly fit guy, struggling massively with a standard marathon.
Setting text like, oh, my God, ouch, terrible, after finishing.
Right. Compare that to the Tarahumara just cruising over vastly greater distances, seemingly without issue.
So this personal struggle, this pain, and the whole mystery of the Tarahumara, it sparks this quest for the author.
Leads him deep into the canyons, searching for answers, searching for their secrets.
And searching for this almost legendary figure, Caballo Blanco, the white horse.
Right. Initially, that legend, the Caballo Blanco story, almost sounded like a fabrication, didn't it? Too good to be true.
Like a decoy for outsiders. This white guy who somehow mastered ancient running arts living hidden away.
But then the author finds Angel Nava-Lopez, who runs a little schoolhouse down there.
And Angel confirms it. Caballo Blanco is real. But he also says, connecting with the Tarahumara,
Yeah,
it takes time.
a lot of time. Años y años, he says. Years and years of building trust.
And Angel's take is that Caballo Blanco gets it. He genuinely understands and respects the Tarahumara way. El Caballo sabe.
So the first meeting with Caballo sounds memorable.
A bit intense. He had this scowl.
Which turned out to be mostly hunger.
Right. And his way of talking is described like an art house film in Fast Forward. Just full of stories, jokes, flashbacks, all jumbled together.
Definitely not your typical wise old guru living in a cave.
Yeah. So what's fascinating is how the sources describe Tarahumara culture, where running isn't just like a hobby.
No, it's completely woven into the fabric of their existence.
You see it from when they're kids, right? Just tearing down mountainsides,
Yeah.
naturally athletic.
And that deep link between running and just plain survival, the source says, you're alive because your father can run down a deer.
Running is life.
And the Rajipari game, that sounds like the absolute heart of their running culture.
It sounds incredible. Teams kicking a wooden ball over insane distances.
Sometimes for 24, even 48 hours straight, kicking this little ball.
Wow. This constant focus happens between villages.
And there's betting and drinking tesquino, this corn beer that apparently fuels the whole social event.
Legends of the game, like Arnulfo Kumare and Manuel Luna, are mentioned too.
And speaking of fuel, the sources talk about Isquiat, Kia Fresca.
Described as basically their home-brewed Red Bull.
Yeah. Apparently an explorer named Lumholtz tried it and noted feeling instant new strength.
And when you look at what's in it, it makes sense. Omega-3s, protein, vitamins, minerals, fiber.
It's a nutritional powerhouse. And it wasn't just them Aztecs. Hopis, they used chia for endurance too. The state of Chiapas is even named after it.
It's so simple, so natural, a real contrast to all the complex gels and powders in modern running.
Totally. And another important point the source makes is about their society being remarkably egalitarian.
Men are gentle, respectful to women. They share childcare, carrying babies while they work.
And women aren't just, on the sidelines. They're respected runners themselves. Sometimes they're even the chokiame.
Which is like the team captain-in-chief bookie, right?
Exactly. So women can be leaders, organizers, central figures in this huge community event.
That directly contradicts some later claims that came up, doesn't it? About Tarahumara attitudes towards women racers.
Yes, specifically around the Leadville experiment. This was Rick Fisher's idea.
The guy with the crocodile hunter of lost tribes vibe.
That's how the source describes him, yeah. His idea was to bring some Tarahumara runners to the Leadville Trail 100 race in Colorado, mainly for the media attention.
Even though they're described as naturally shy, preferring to be unseen.
And Leadville itself, it's an extreme race, created by Ken Klauber after the local mine closed with that dark humor line.
Maybe killing a few folks will get us back on the map. Oof.
It's a brutal ultramarathon at high altitude. Attracts a certain type, right? Steve Peterson, Marshall Ulrich, Aaron Ralston, that kind of rare breed.
So Fisher brings the Tarahumara into this intense environment. How did they do?
Amazingly well. The source says they looked freakishly normal hours into this grueling race, just jogging along.
And there's that great detail about the shoe.
Oh, yeah. They ditched the sponsored rock ports they were given mid-race.
And just switched back to their traditional Horrocks, simple tire tread sandals.
That says so much, doesn't it?
It really does. But while the Tarahumara were incredible, the race also highlighted Ann Trayson's amazing performance.
Yeah, she was leading the whole race for a long time, hitting checkpoints hours faster than previous winners, just crushing it.
And this is where the source gets into some of the, let's say, conflicting narratives.
Right. It highlights how Rick Fisher, according to the book, was pushing this story to the media that wasn't quite right.
Particularly that claim that the Tarahumara men thought it was shameful to be beaten by a woman.
Which the source states is completely alien to their actual culture, based on that egalitarian point we mentioned.
The drama of Anne getting caught by Martimano and Juan late in the race is really vivid in the description.
And then the finish. The Tarahumara finished quietly, almost unnoticed, while there's this big party atmosphere around the modern runners.
It's quite a contrast.
Then the source goes into Fisher's later claims alleging the race was fixed, runners were drugged, things that sound pretty wild.
Especially the idea that someone would fix it against the Tarahumara winning, when Fisher's whole goal was supposedly the spectacle of them winning.
Exactly. The book presents his perspective, but frames it as pretty unreliable and erratic. It gives you a clear look at these clashing accounts.
So Leadville gives us this fascinating, maybe messy, collision of running worlds. And speaking of collisions, the shoe controversy. The sources really tackle this head-on.
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest bombshells in the material, that despite all the fancy tech, the cushioning, the motion control, the high prices,
Injury rates in modern running are still sky-high, 65% to 80%.
it doesn't make sense. The source even mentions a study by Bernard Marty.
Get this. Runners in expensive, top-of-the-line shoes were 123% more likely to get injured than runners in cheap shoes.
123% more likely. How does that work?
And the author's own tests back this up, measuring higher impact forces when wearing cushioned shoes compared to just running barefoot.
It really makes you question the whole premise of modern running shoe design.
There's a quote from the legendary coach Arthur Lydiard. You support an area, it gets weaker. Use it extensively, it gets stronger. Run barefoot, and you don't have all those troubles.
And even Nike's own research apparently showed this. They filmed barefoot runners.
And saw the foot working naturally, stretching, gripping, adapting to the ground. Modern shoes seem to just lock that all down.
Enter barefoot Ted McDougall. He's a key figure in this whole minimalist running thing.
His journey into running barefoot, connecting with this community, rediscovering historical figures.
Like a B.B. Bikula, the Olympic marathon champ who won gold running barefoot.
And Dr. Charlie Robbins, who argued way back that shoes cause injuries.
Leonardo da Vinci apparently called the foot a masterpiece of engineering and a work of art.
Makes you wonder if we've been wrapping this masterpiece in a plaster cast for decades.
Well, Dr. Daniel Lieberman's research, mentioned in the source, suggests exactly that. Modern shoes might weaken our feet, leading to problems like overpronation.
That's when your foot rolls inward too much.
Right. And knee issues. Problems that were apparently much less common before modern running shoes really took off around 1972.
So Barefoot Ted starts using things like Vibram 5 fingers, trying to get back to more natural movement.
And the source describes his interactions with Caballo Blanco down in the canyons. You can sort of sense the tension there.
Two different approaches, right? Modern experimentation meeting ancient tradition.
Yeah, that dynamic is definitely present. So if our modern gear might be flawed, where does this amazing human ability to run even come from?
This is where the deep dive gets evolutionary.
And introduces researchers David Carrier and Dr. Dennis Bramble. Initially, they were skeptical about humans as runners.
Looking at our anatomy, no tail for balance, being upright makes us less stable than four-legged animals.
They thought maybe we're not really built for speed or endurance.
But then they started finding all these unique human adaptations specifically for endurance running.
Like how our breathing isn't locked into one breath per stride, like a horse or dog.
We have springy legs, lean torsos for efficiency.
Our amazing cooling system, sweat glands, hairless skin.
And our heads are positioned perfectly for balance while running long distances.
And all these adaptations, they point strongly towards the theory of persistence hunting.
This is mind-blowing. The idea that early humans didn't just use spears from hiding.
No. They used their endurance, especially in the heat, to literally run animals down over miles and miles until the prey just collapsed from heat exhaustion.
We outlasted them.
Exactly. They contrast this with Neanderthals, powerful ambush hunters, different build, different diet.
While our Homo erectus ancestors were slimmer, longer-legged, with a diet including meat that fueled brain growth, built for the long run.
Dr. Bramble brings up a really interesting point, too, about the mind-body conflict.
Look that.
He calls our brain a bargain shopper, always looking for the path of least resistance, the most efficient way, comfort.
Okay.
And that drive for efficiency might actually work against our innate physical gift for endurance running.
So our brain tells us to take the elevator, even though our body was built to take the stairs. Thousands of stairs.
Pretty much. Maybe that explains why some people tap into this incredible capacity and others, well, don't, especially in our modern world of convenience.
Which leads to that really powerful quote from Dr. Bramble in the source.
Just move your legs, because if you don't think you were born to run, you're not only denying history, you're denying who you are.
Wow. That hits hard. It's a call to remember where we came from.
But it's not just the mechanics, the biology. The sources also explore the other side of running, the spirit, the joy, the community.
The author's own journey reflects this, right? Rediscovering running not as this painful chore,
but finding that feeling of effortless, joyful movement again, often by just ditching the heavy shoes or running barefoot.
Jenna Blake's story is powerful too, finding self-acceptance and this incredible sense of freedom through running alone on trails.
Even running naked through the woods at dawn, feeling completely free.
And then you have the party kids, Jen and Billy. Their stories about pure audacity, finding inspiration, and just sheer delight in pushing their limits.
Running and smiling, as the source puts it, connecting that spirit to warrior poets like Kerouac, finding freedom in movement.
The story of Emil Zatopek is just perfect for this. Legendary runner, but so unconventional.
Treated races like a pub crawl, apparently. Famously awkward running style.
But trained like crazy in his own weird ways, set tons of records.
And showed incredible sportsmanship, like pacing another runner to help him set a record, even while Zatopek himself was winning his own Olympic gold. Just amazing spirit.
Coach Joe Vigil's feeling about the Tarahumara sums it up. Love of life.
Yeah, he felt running made them fundamentally better people. He imagined how society could change if people rediscovered that potential in running for connection, well-being, not just winning races.
And all these different threads, the Tarahumara way, the modern runners, the search for joy, they kind of culminate in Caballo Blanco's big, audacious plan.
Hosting a race in the Copper Canyons, bringing together these elite ultra-runners from the outside.
Like Scott Jurek, who Caballo apparently thought had a Raramuri soul.
And bringing them together with the local Tarahumara runners on their home turf.
The scene described in Urique sounds amazing. A real community festival.
Music, dancing, garlands. The mayor apparently showed up with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Just this incredible mix of different running worlds colliding.
And the race itself had these really memorable moments described in the source.
Like the chaotic start, Jen leading strong, then having that bad fall.
And other runners just passing her by without helping. Ouch.
But then the author's own struggle later and getting unexpected help from someone he'd shared a small gift with earlier, that connection.
It really underscores that it wasn't just about competition. It was about Caballo Blanco's whole philosophy.
Quoted right there, running isn't about making people buy stuff. Running should be free, man.
And learning about Caballo Blanco's own backstory adds another layer. He wasn't always this canyon recluse.
Mike Hickman, the gypsy cowboy, a prize fighter searching for meaning, influenced by these almost mythical figures like Smitty and Geronimo.
It's a complex human journey that led him to become Micah True and organize this unique event.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive into these sources, this look at Born to Run, what are the big nuggets of knowledge for you, the listener, to take away?
Well, first, there's just the mind-blowing natural ability of the Tarahumara. They're like this living proof of joyful, injury-free endurance running, almost untouched by modern issues.
Then those really counterintuitive findings about modern running shoes, the idea that all our fancy, expensive tech might actually be weakening our feet and making us more prone to injury.
Yeah.
That was a huge paradigm shift.
Definitely. And then there's the really compelling evolutionary science suggesting that humans aren't just, okay at running long distances. We were literally built for endurance.
Yeah.
It's baked into our history, maybe into our very identity.
Yeah, it's fundamental. And finally, exploring that deeper side, the human connection, the sheer joy, the sense of freedom and self that running can unlock when it's approached with that kind of spirit we saw in the Tarahumara or Zatopek or even the party kids.
So for you, listening, this is hopefully a shortcut to getting informed about these really surprising ideas. It challenges a lot of common assumptions about running, about health, about what our bodies can actually do.
And this whole journey, it really leaves us with a pretty significant question to mull over, doesn't it?
Which is?
If our bodies truly are built for this kind of endurance, if movement is so deeply tied to our history and our well-being, what exactly are we losing? What are we missing out on in our modern lives by always prioritizing convenience and efficiency over tapping into this incredible innate capacity we were born with?
What does it mean if we might actually be denying a fundamental part of who we are?
Something to think about. Thank you so much for tuning in to Daily Review. We truly appreciate you joining us for your daily dose of literary exploration. Your support means the world to us and helps us continue to share these amazing books with you.
If you're enjoying what you hear, please consider taking a moment to subscribe, rate, like, and comment on any of the platforms you're listening from. This really helps support our channel and allows us to get better and bring you even more great content.
If today's review sparked your interest and you're ready to dive into a copy of the book, please consider using the link in our description to make your purchase. Not only does it make it easy for you to get your hands on the book, but it also directly supports our channel and the author, allowing us to keep bringing you more great content. Thanks again for being a part of the Daily Review community.
Keep digging, keep exploring, and perhaps keep moving.